Hey, what's going on guys? It is PandaX Creeps here and welcome back to another Creepypasta narration video. Today's video is going to be on Metroid. I think this is like the second Metroid one I did. I don't know, I just found another Metroid Creepypasta and I thought why not narrating it, so yeah, I'm just going to get straight into it. Metroid has been my favourite game series ever since I was young. I have played every Metroid game up until Metroid Prime. Once I heard a new Metroid game was coming to my favourite console of all time, you can imagine how overcome with joy I was. On the Friday the game came out, I was so excited that I was squealing like a little girl that entire day. I had to rush home from school because I was serving a detention fully facing my desk. I ran the 6 blocks to my nearest video game store. The store was called Mitch Games Warehouse. All the kids at my school knew and loved Mitch. We all treated him as if he was our father. I rushed through the door, nearly giving Mitch a heart attack. Mitch knew all the kids in the neighbourhood by name. "Tommy, what the hell are you doing? You trying to tackle my door?" he said, with an annoyed look on his face. I chuckled and apologised to him. "Sorry, Mitch. I just had to rush here to see if there weren't any copies of Metroid Prime left in stock." Mitch looked kind of disappointed after those words left my mouth. "Sorry, Tommy, but I think we're out of stock for Metroid Prime until our next shipment arrives, which will be a week from now." I was devastated, near tears when I heard I wouldn't be able to play the newest addition to my favourite franchise. "Wait a sec," Mitch said, after seeing the hopeless looks on my face. "There might be another copy left in the back. Let me check." My face lit up with joy. Mitch walked to the little room with a black door and a silver doorknob. He turned the knob and entered the room. He came out a couple minutes later with a game and what looked like a Samus figurine. Turns out there was a single copy left in the back. I also got you the neat looking figurine which was next to the game on my desk. I never knew I had this thing. I was so giddy at the sight of the copy of Metroid Prime. I asked him very abruptly, "How much is it?" Mitch looked kind of startled at the look I had in my eyes. I probably looked like a dog who hadn't eaten in a month being offered a piece of meat. Mitch told me $60. Turns out I was 30 cents short. Mitch isn't a jerk. He said he didn't care about any change. He also told me something that made my heart feel warm. "Tommy, just because I know you're a die-hard Metroid fan, I'll give you the figurine for free. Sounds good?" "Yes, it sounds perfect," I said, probably foaming from my mouth. I forked over the money and caught a copy and the figurine. I was so jumpy during the walk home. I looked at my Samus figurine, and it turns out that you could move Samus' visual up and down, and you can see her eyes. I lifted up the visual on the figurine and saw Samus' eyes. However, the green eyes of the figurine looked scared or sad. I only pounded over it for a second and thought it was kind of creepy. I disregarded that thought, however, because I was only a block away from my house. My arms were shaking because I was so excited for the first time when I could finally put the game disc inside my GameCube. I finally arrived at my front door. I charged through my door, thinking for a second I just broke the door. Whatever, I thought to myself. As I ran full speed into my room, I entered and locked my door. I didn't want anyone disturbing my quality time with Samus. It turns out that the Samus figurine had a cord that would be inserted to the GameCube controller port. I had no idea what it did, so I plugged it into the Player 2 controller port. I looked at the game case, and I took the game case out of the plastic bag and noticed something amiss. The case had the words "Deception" scribbled under the word "Prime." It looked like someone was in intense pain as they were writing the words "Deception" on the box. I was pretty confused at this point because the original box art did not have that scribbled on there. Again, I didn't care too much because I was only prolonging my Metroid Prime experience. I popped the game disc and grabbed my controller and reached the title screen and heard an awful high-pitched noise. I scrambled to turn off my GameCube. I pressed the power button and the GC didn't turn off. The high-pitched noise got progressively worse and I turned to rush to the power cord and unplugged it, and after a second the screeching stopped and the TV turned off. Scared to death, I caught my breath. What the hell was that horrid screeching? I thought to myself. I was very jumpy at this point. However, I hesitantly turned my GameCube back on. Upon start, the GameCube logo didn't bounce around like normal. Instead, it went straight to the Metroid Prime menu. There were 3 save files. File 1 and 2 said "New Game", but File 3 said "New Horror". Being the curious person I am, I selected the third file, "New Horror". I was very excited, but pretty nervous at the time. It's not normal for there to be a file with the data on my memory card. Considering I never played this game up until now, the intro to the game was Samus jumping out of her ship and onto the space pirate base. It felt so good to play as Samus after a while without a new Metroid game. There was one particularly detailed that I found out of the ordinary. Samus was missing her arm cannon. Maybe I have to find a new arm cannon in this game. This has never happened in any of the previous Metroid titles, but something new doesn't hurt. I equipped the scan visual and scanned the doors locked. Doing this took out the holographic door that you could not pass. As I walked inside the pirate base, my jaw dropped. There was at least 5 Metroids before my eyes, and the arm cannon was behind the pack of Metroids. A cutscene started to play. Oh boy, Samus is going to be badass like normal. She's going to acquire the arm cannon and puny Metroids. I thought. I was dead wrong. As the cutscene unfolded, it showed the Metroid attach themselves to Samus. You could hear the desperate cries of the bounty hunter. The cries were terrifying, realistic, as if someone was actually trying to be ripped to shreds. The first Metroid started tearing at Samus' helmet, which led to her becoming more decapitated. All you could see was the collection of mangled flesh around where her neck would be. Her vertebrae was sticking out of her body. The Metroid that ripped her off her head was levitating around. A few seconds later, Samus' head fell out the helmet with her throat hanging out of her decapitated head. The game over screen was Samus' head ceasing to beat and a morbid high-pitched scream. I was near tears at this point, scared out of my mind. I couldn't take it, I screamed. I reluctantly booted the game back up. I wanted to start a new game, figuring that might solve the problem. File 1 and 2 were no longer there. All that was there was a new horror file. I nervously started the file back up. The intro was the same, except for this time I had the arm cannon. I was baffled. What the hell was going on? I said out loud. I scanned the door locks and got myself back at the point where I died. The Metroids had disappeared. I was relieved and scared at the same time. There was something disturbing in the front of me, however. 2 mutilated space pirates' corpses were lying on the ground. I took the scanner visual and scanned the dead bodies. The logs were very violent. One of the I'm in excruciating pain. I was ripped to shreds by the Metroids. My organs imploded from the overexposure to Phazon. They shredded my limbs and left me for dead. My partner suffered an even worse fate. They went inside of him, ripped his throat out. I sat there limbed and watching my comrade die. He choked on his own blood. I felt lightweighted, and I know that I will be within death's arms soon. May any pirate who translates this log heed my warning. At this point, I'm questioning how this game got published with the material being included. I continued playing. The space pirates that were injured on the ground weren't even trying to harm Samus. They just seemed to whimper and sit there. Upon entering the next room, I was met with more surprise and scenery. There were a large glass window, and behind it were the rows of space pirates. The pirates were banging madly on the glass tubes they were encased inside. They were convulsively and violently. The space pirates acted as if they could actually feel the pain. It seemed as if they could actually had emotions, and were reacting to the pain as if anyone would. They were groaning loudly. They were letting out the tortured cries. As I was thinking, this over text box appeared, and the bottom of the screen said, "Don't worry, soon enough you would feel their pain." What the hell was going on here? The textbook seemed as if they were threatening me. Wow, how adorable. The door opened up ahead, and the scannable switch. I scanned it and entered a cutscene. It showed Samus scanning the door lock as she finished. A door from under her opened as she fell into the vat of Phazon. I sat there in disbelief. Fearing that was coming towards senseless, I was not disappointed. The top of the vat was sealed, ensuring an impossible escape. Samus started banging violently on the vat. You could hear her tortured screams. They started to get louder and louder and louder. The screams became more intense. Began to thrash her head around. Her causal suit disintegrated, and all that was left was her Zero suit. The Zero suit offered no protection to the highly toxic vat of the alien chemicals. Her arms disintegrated. Her torso ceased to exist. All of a sudden, I heard something fall off my TV. It was the Samus figurine. It fell off my TV and it was shaking violently. I unplugged it from the GameCube controller port and inspected it. I lifted up the visual and left out the loudest scream I could muster. There was nothing behind the visual. The figurine suit fell to pieces and the arm cannon rolled behind my TV. I heard the screams of the GameCube screen, but they were much more louder than before. Almost deafening, to be honest. And then I heard Samus cry. Her sobs in her last moments became unbearable. I couldn't take it anymore. I unplugged the GameCube and took the game out hastily. I smashed the game disc to pieces. I was not satisfied until the entire disc was broken beyond repair. I put the figurine in the oven and let it melt. I formatted my memory card and have never touched the GameCube or any other Metroid game since. I asked my friends who bought the game if they experienced anything similar, and they told me they didn't. I got psychological help ever since that day. When I dream, I could still remember her Samus's tortured screams. I pledge to never touch another Metroid game as long as I live.